Hey, this is Mr. Jarvis with Homework Help for Wednesday, December 5th. And we're looking at a graph here that shows the profit. It says money for concessions, but it's really the profit from the sales for game one in the light gray, game two in the dark gray. For bubblegum, game one over here, game two over here in the dark gray. The profit for hard candy, game one, game two, and sour strings, game one and two. So each of these, each dark line is $1, and there are how many of these smaller lines? One, two, three, four. A fourth of $1 or a quarter of $1. How much is that? 25 cents. Very good. So let's move ahead. What was the profit for bubblegum in game one? Now we have to be careful. This says money for concessions. So I didn't put the instructions, but I had to go back to the instructions and say, well, they said profit. That's a difference than just how much money you got from the bubblegum. But that's a whole different lesson. You had expenses. You had to buy the bubblegum and sell it for a higher price. But this graph indeed is profit. I kind of wish they'd written profit for concessions because that's a big difference. Your profit versus just how much money you got. You could get lots of money in and lose it and, be out behind. Anyway, enough of that. So this is $1.2550 75 cents. So that's simple enough. Well, hopefully all the homework's this easy. $1.75. Let me put my period there a little bit better. So what's the profit of bubblegum in game two? So, whoa, it was a lot more. $3.2550. So $3.50. Let's look at C here. How much more profit was made on the bubblegum in game two than game one? So that's $3.50 minus $1.75. There's a whole bunch of ways I can just, solve this out. And I know there's a bunch of you could just do that in your head. One way to think of it, you could think of it as 350 minus, you could add a 25 cents and say minus 2. And see, I'm going to add it back later. So 350 minus $2 is 150. Ooh, but I took another 25 cents off, so it's really $1.75. $1.75, and that's my answer. The longer way to do it, the way I was taught, was always borrowing. The answer is, so I could say, okay, well, I'm going to borrow. So 5, I don't have any zeros, so I'm going to borrow from the dimes. I'm going to take a dime away, make this 4 dimes, and this 10 pennies, and then I would have 5. So now this is 4 dimes minus 7. Oh, I need to borrow from the dollars. I'm going to make this $2. And 10 dimes, which would plus 4 dimes would make 14 dimes, and I'd get 7. Look, I end up getting the same thing. $2 minus $1 is 1. I get $1.75. That's the whole borrowing thing. Super big when I was in elementary school. Don't ask questions, just borrow. What am I borrowing? I don't know. When do I pay it back? Anyway, so the difference now is we show kids like 3 different ways to solve the same problem. And I think it's cool. Sometimes it's frustrating though too. So we got the hard candy. So you're going to subtract here. I'll let you do the next one yourself. How much more profit was made game two for the hard candy? Well, that was $8. Minus $4.25. Okay, so a bunch of ways. Like you could borrow. You could pick this. Oh, okay, I can borrow. I can't borrow here, so I'm going to borrow here. Make this dollar, and this is 10 dimes. So I got to borrow. Oh, I still can't, but I got to borrow from the 10 dimes. Make it 9, and this 10. So this would be 5. Or you could just do it in your head. A lot of you guys just do it in your head. This would be 7, and this would be $3.75. So $8 minus $4.25. Or you could just think, okay, I'm gonna I'm going to take this 25 cents away and add it later and say, okay, it's $8 minus 4 is 4, but I need to take away another 25 cents. So I could think of this as, well, $8 minus just 4, but I know I have to take another 25 cents off. End up with 4. No, I got to take another, end up with $4, but I got to minus another 25 cents. That would be $3.75. I know you guys have all kinds of ways. You haven't taught math in a while. Now you have all kinds of ways of working these out. It's kind of fun to watch. I was shown one way, and that was the only way you could do it. I like how you get to do a whole bunch of different ways. So how much more profit was made on Sour Strings game 2 and game 3? You're going to do the same thing. You're going to set up 825. 8.25. You can borrow or do the under over thing. Minus 275. I'll let you guys work that out. So let's go on to the next page here on mine. Okay. Oh, I got the same thing. I was able to kind of do all these on the same. Okay. Next, we have please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. So you got to do the parentheses first. This is good review. Great review. 24 divided by 4 is, I said it, 6. Now I can bring down the 10 times 6 equals 60. And this brings us to a good point. You know, a lot of you saw me write these problems because this is how we write it. And this is how you probably see it in algebra. And this brings me, this was pretty easy. So I'll just bird walk a little bit. And I said, what are you supposed to do with the 10 and the thing in parentheses? Well, if the number's right next to the parentheses, it's imply that you multiply. Okay, so, all right, just, I would write these problems like this and everyone would get confused. What? Where's the time sign? You don't have to necessarily put it. They put it here because I think they're nice. So, but doesn't really have to be there. Just so I know that confused people. And there's one of those, I think you'll see that more when you get into higher math. They don't put the time sign in all the time. Okay. So let's take a look at number 6. And Trina said $1.05 plus $2.25 equals $3.75. Because 2 quarters plus $2, I don't know. So she's going 2 quarters plus $2. She's adding within the same thing. Like, what the heck? So I know if I have when I line these up, I'm going to add them up. $1.05. Let me write it down here. $1.05. Excuse me. Okay. So I add $1.05 minus plus $2.25. I mean, you could just see right now. I could just see right off the bat the answer is not going to end with the 5 because this is going to be a 10. 5 plus 5 is 10. So, I mean, I just know right off the bat, and you could probably come up with a whole bunch of reasons why 275 is not correct. Just the logic here is that she's adding the $2 plus the 25 cents. You don't do it. You just line them up with the place value. Okay, and add the pennies plus the pennies, dimes plus the dimes, dollars plus the dollars. If you need to borrow from a dollar, you borrow in subtraction, you would borrow, or you just carry over here. Anyway, enough of that. That was pretty easy because I just checked. I knew right away when I saw this 5 is going to end with a 5. I knew that was it. I just stopped there. I knew the answer. So hopefully you did too. And good luck with the homework. And hope you had a great afternoon while all the teachers are at an in-service. Have a class. Anyway, have a great afternoon. Have a great evening. Hope this helped.